What's good, guys? Your boy, Mr. Old School Ryder. Come back at you one more again on the Ryder's Book Club. Have a very special guest, one of the legends in the media game, especially on the hip hop side, but also he basically in your favorite magazines, rap vlogs, all type of stuff. He also have his own series on YouTube, Instagram, and everything else. I want you guys to introduce him. I'm gonna let him talk. What's going on, sir?
Well, the support and the opportunity.
Yes, it's Mr. Old School Ryder. This is Soren Baker. Talk to us, sir.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to seeing what we're gonna talk about today.
Oh, you could talk about quite a bit. We're not gonna be on here all night, but it'll be just for a little bit. So, Soren, tell us about yourself, sir.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Maryland, and fell in love with rap when I was about 10 years old. And then by the time I was 12, I was just like, man, I got to figure out how to get in the game. And bottom line, I just when I got to college, I was like, let me try to see if I could write. And I went to Xavier University in Cincinnati. And when I got the opportunity to write for the Xavier Newswire, the school newspaper there, I got my, I did some work and then I got my first check, and it was for $5 for writing an article. And I was like, wait a minute, I could get paid to write? Let me try this. And, then I just went full steam ahead and been working on it ever since. And, been very fortunate to write some books. I got the history of gangster rap. Y'all don't have that. Definitely pick that up. It's a perfect gift for the holidays. I also did a book, Gucci Man Guide to Greatness,
Bird.
that I did, and with Gucci, of course. And then I got my own Unique Access Entertainment YouTube channel, so everybody please check that out. And then I write for LL Cool J's Rock the Bells. I write for Flood Magazine, and I got some TV and film stuff in the works. If all goes well, I have another book out next year, so it's a lot going on.
Oh man, shout out to B Main Beats. He actually the guy that actually did I think like three of my intros. I didn't have time to really put it in today, but he basically did three of my intro beats. Shout out to
Okay.
him, D Town, Louisiana stand up, of course.
Yeah,
You guys need to check him
Louisiana.
out as well. He
My
up and
wife,
coming.
my wife from Louisiana, so always love Louisiana.
Oh man. Oh yeah, shout out to your old lady, man. We do appreciate you holding she hold you down, man.
Yes, she does. Love you, Davita. Thank you.
Oh. So how long you been since you got paid back in the day for $5? What time period was that?
That was 94. So I was still a teenager in college writing. And, that was one of the many moments, but one of the moments that helped change my life, because I was like, I didn't, in Maryland, there wasn't really a rap scene when I was growing up. And in Cincinnati, there wasn't really a rap scene. But growing up, my parents subscribed to a lot of newspapers. So I'd seen the Washington Post and the Baltimore Sun and the Capital for Annapolis, Maryland. And the Washington Post in particular, covered a lot of rap in the newspaper. And then, of course, the source was out, and my parents thankfully supported me and got me, I think for Christmas or my birthday one year, got me a subscription to the source. So, and then I'd go to, back in the day when there was all the record stores, I'd be going to Tower Records all the time, mainly in Annapolis, but to buy or read the magazines and just see what was coming out, and spending most of the money I earned from my jobs or doing, cutting grass, washing cars, or the jobs I had, to buy music. So, yeah, man, it's crazy.
Oh wow, man, that's what's up right there. So basically, the source was already out when you started your writing, pretty much. Then, right?
Oh, yeah, the source had been out, and I, always looked at that as, of course, a great publication and something that I hoped one day to write for. And then to be able to start writing for the source when I was in college was a true blessing. I got to shout out DJ ICD in Cincinnati and Usman Sam, the first two that made that dream possible for me. And Dario Strange hooking me up early in the game. So I had a lot of people that looked out for me to help me get in that position. And then later on, Jeremy Miller and Kim Osario were integral in me getting a full-time staff position there, which I had later. So I've had a lot of people help me and support me and look out for me throughout my career. So I've been very fortunate and very blessed.
So basically, you end up getting on at the source a little bit early on as well.
Well,
Actually,
I started writing for the source in '95 when I was in college, so it hadn't been out even for 10 years yet. But it was, of course, prominent, dominant, and one of the main, if not the main, rap magazine at the time. So it was funny in college. I remember at Xavier in Cincinnati, people would see me writing in the school newspaper or they would heard that I knew a lot about rap. But I never forget when I went into the cafeteria after my first source article had come out, then everybody was like, "Oh, you really write for the source? Like for real? Or you really in the game, man?" I was like, "I've been telling y'all, like, yeah." But it was just funny that coming out and me not even talking about it to anybody, but just the fact that the source was so big that people would be coming up to me in the cafeteria, like, "Yo, man, that's dope, man. Congratulations." And like, "Oh, man, what was it?" Uh, my first interview was with Chino XL, but the one that the people in Cincinnati were very excited about was, or one of my early ones was Chino XL, but the first one was 8 Ball and MJG, and that's the one that everybody was really excited about because 8 Ball and MJG was so big in Cincinnati. And since I got to interview them for the source, that was like, big in the Midwest, and then big that I got to do it as a teenager. Or I don't know if I was still a teenager or if I was 20 at the time, but when that one came out, but I was young, and I got to write for the source, and it was 8 Ball and MJG, so it was like win, 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 all at once.
oh man, they like the Legends in the South, man. That's one of my favorite groups of all time. Of course,
You and me both,
man, they still get played on a weekly basis. I ain't gonna front, man. They're
as it
still in
should,
rotation.
as it should. Shout out to 8 Ball and MJG as always. I got to, that was the first time I got to talk to them, but I've got to meet and spend a lot of time with both of them over the years, and that's been another blessing that getting into the game because I love it, and then getting to know and spend time with a lot of the artists and becoming friends with some of them is just the extra layer of the game that I've been able to do, and very fortunate and excited that that's happened because to be able to grow up or listen to 8 Ball and MJG and then to be like hanging out with them or you're riding in a car with them, like, whoa, this is crazy.
Oh wow, man, that had to be a heck of a moment back in the day, especially during that time period. I'm gonna say like the early '90s to like early 2000s. It was like the golden era for hip hop to a certain extent. Besides the old school.
It's definitely one of the best periods. I remember it was crazy because the first time I'd ever been to the Sharpstown Mall in Houston was with 8 Ball. He took me, we went there, and then another time I was just riding on the highway with MJG. So it's just crazy, man. It's crazy. A lot of these memories I have and things that I did that rap really helped me so much in my life and taught me so many things, and to be able to be have a small part in the game in general is just amazing. That I had this little dream as a kid to try to figure out how to be involved, and to be able to make that come true, and to be able to do it for a living is a blessing, man.
Oh man, that's what's up right there. So you basically did you have like a regular job before you got into this? You just went ahead and started writing and boom, you got your job.
Nah, I mean, I started writing it when I was in college, and then thankfully I had the love and support of my parents. So I was doing a lot of writing in college. I was writing for Rap Pages, Rap Sheet, The Source. I was writing for the Cincinnati Post, which was the second biggest paper in Cincinnati at the time. So I had all these things, but I didn't get a job right when I graduated. So I moved back to Maryland, where I'm from, and I'd be going on job interviews or this or that. And one time, my dad just told me, he's like, "Look, you're working every day writing. You're working every day looking for jobs." He said, "You should just try to get the job you want. Obviously, I know you want to be on your own and you want to have your own place and all that, but your mom and I see you working hard every day. So you should wait for the job you want rather than just try to get a job just to have a job." And that was a blessing and hard to take at the same time because I was like, man, I feel like a loser because I am doing all these great things and living this dream, but at the same time, I'm staying at my parents' house and I didn't get a job at any of these magazines or newspapers. And then thankfully, Alan Gordon, soon there, a few months after my dad told me that, Alan Gordon from Rap Pages gave me a job and I was able to move to LA. and be the features editor for Rap Pages. So that really changed my life, and that was my first job. And you know, all my jobs have been work related. Like I haven't had to have, knock on wood, not yet. I haven't had to have a job that wasn't related to rap or related to writing. So, or relating to writing about rap. So, I've been very fortunate.
So the rap pages, is it based on the West Coast?
Yeah, at the time when I got the job, it was based in Beverly Hills. So, when Alan Gordon offered me the job, he's like, "There's only one catch. You got to move to LA because the office is in Beverly Hills." I was like, "Okay, I'll be there." So I was like, "Just tell me when." So, I moved from my parents' house, and then I got my place in Hollywood, and then, I just back then when you would go in the office, and back when there were magazines like that, I lived in Hollywood, and I just drove down to Beverly Hills every day. So it's a beautiful thing, man.
Oh man, that's a blessing right there. We do appreciate that, man. Hey, history right now. Hey, we talking here right now, basically.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You still out here doing your thing. You have several books. Tell us about the books that you have right now.
Well, my two most current one is the history of gangster rap, and this one, I know the holidays are coming up. If people that love and appreciate rap or gangster rap in particular should definitely pick it up. I interviewed more than 30 artists for the book, and then I used some of the interviews that I had with other people like Dr. Dre and Ice Cube uh, that I'd had throughout the years where I talked to them myself. So it's basically almost all original reporting from me interviewing the artists that created gangster rap from Schoolie D all the way up to like people like Vince Staples that I talk about in the book, The History of Gangster Rap. So you can get it, it's at Barnes and Noble, it's at Target.com, it's on Amazon, it's basically wherever you buy books, they can get it for you. And that one, you know, Ice T's manager is also my manager, and we were talking one day, and he was just like, "Well, what books do you want to write, Soren?" Because I'd written some books already. We came up with three ideas. That's the one we liked the best, and when we sent that out to Abrams, uh, and they're a big book publisher out in New York, and they love the idea. So when we got the opportunity to do that, then it was like full steam ahead. Ice T gave me a great interview. Schoolie D gave me a great interview. And then for people that are listening in different parts of the country, I got like legendary Traxter from Chicago because of course he had done a lot of the Twister, Snipers, Psychodrama, Do or Die, et cetera, et cetera. And they talk about a lot of gang stuff on there too. I got Gangsta Boo, 3 6 Mafia because they, talk about a lot of GD stuff and their music. So it's just I wanted to make a point to show this is like rappers talking about the gang lifestyle, rappers that are in gangs or were in gangs, and not that it's just in Los Angeles because it started in Philadelphia with Schoolie D, then it really went to New York and LA, and then LA put the main stamp on it, but then we see the other cities adapting and surviving and thriving with it themselves, and of course like Ghetto Boys with Scarface, I got him in the book. So I've just been fortunate. It's got a lot of acclaim, and like I said, it's right around the holidays time, so it'd be perfect to get that for somebody that that loves rap. And one of the things that I really like about the book is I did all these sidebars, like little nuggets, like about DJ Quick. He gave me a great interview for the book and talked about him, like how he noticed that with Quick as the Name, his first album that came out in '91, when that came out, when his videos started getting on MTV, because radio wasn't that big, but Yo MTV Raps and Rap City, when they would play his videos, then his sales started going through the roof because people could see him, people could see the video, they could see what he was looking like with his perm and all the other stuff. So, I got all those type of things all throughout the book, man. So it's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, shout out to DJ Quick as well. Man, he don't get all his props like he's supposed to, man. I kind of hate that sometimes, but he out there with Dre, basically like producing wise.
Yeah, DJ Quick is phenomenal. If you guys happen to see his Unsung, that's on TV1. I was in there, and basically my statement was I think DJ Quick is the best rapper producer in the history of the game. I believe that, and I think the evidence supports that. He's just a phenomenal talent. I've had the fortune of being in the studio several times with Quick over the years and getting to know him personally. and to be able to sit down. He didn't produce this one time. He didn't produce the beat he was rapping on, but I got to literally. We were at Exhibit Studio, and I was in the studio, and I saw DJ Quick literally write his verse on a yellow like legal pad, and then I saw him rap the verse. So like it was just amazing to see that and experience that, firsthand from somebody that, came out and was big even before I could even drive. So, that was amazing. And DJ Quick on his Trauma album, if y'all have that, if you don't, pick it up. But he shouted me out on the liner notes of that, and that was a big honor for me too, because again, it's amazing that these dudes that I admire, idolize, studied, appreciated, and think are so brilliant, then would turn around and show me love and reciprocate that appreciation. So it's been a beautiful journey for me, man.
How important back then to get mentioned in the liner notes? I was hearing from like other people that was like that was the most important thing you can get as a big shout out on somebody else's record on the inside.
I mean, the first one I ever got was from Chino XL from his Here to Save You All album. That happened when I was in college. And like I I don't usually cry or get emotional, but I'm not gonna lie, I did get tear up a little bit when I opened up and saw that. I was like, wow, this is amazing that an artist like Chino XL that I think is phenomenal would think enough of me just from an interview I did with them and keeping in touch with them and stuff. But I didn't grow up with them. I didn't know them until I'd interviewed them and all this stuff. But for me to have made enough of an impact on him, and we're still friends today. We still talk, and we saw each other a lot more before the pandemic. But the point is the fact that someone like him, that I made enough of an impression on him to thank me on his album. And then later with DJ Quick and Twister and the Speed Not Mobsters and on and on and on. A lot of people that have thanked me on their albums, Talib Kweli and High Tech. It's a lot of people. And just to see that it is a huge, huge thing. And, it is an amazing feeling.
Oh yes, sir. How you try to do a little bit of rapping yourself every now and then?
Nah, I rapped one time for myself in my room. I literally wrote like one little verse and I was like, yeah, that's enough. I was literally, I tried it one time to myself. But I didn't think the verse was bad by any means. I just, at that time, growing up, I didn't have any connection or any way thought I could get affiliated with the music industry. And then on top of that, as a kid, it didn't register to me that the artists that I grew up listening to at this time, the Kumo D's, the Dana Danes, the UTFOs, the LL Cool J's, the Slick Ricks, the Dougie Freshes, Curtis Blow, it didn't register to me that they were all 5, 10 years older than me at least. I was just like, man, I could never write a story like Dana Dane or Slick Rick or, beatbox like Dougie Fresh or, be as hard as LL Cool J or any of these things. So I was like, man, I got to figure out something else I could do. And I was like, a couple of years later, then I was like, oh, I could write. I could write about rap. And that's just what I focused on.
Oh man, that's cool right there, man. Those some of the legends on the East and West Coast as well. Yeah, when I was younger, I listened to hip hop mostly. I
Mm-hmm.
may have a lot of older folk around me. Of course, you had the old school soul music and things like that, but mostly it was basically just rap. And I
Yeah,
love whenever R&B song came on back then, a rap verse came on. Man, I was just turned up back then.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it was interesting because with my dad, who my mom listened to music too, but mainly it was my dad, and he liked the Beatles and Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan. So I didn't get that much exposure to soul, of course, other than when I went to my friends' houses or their grandparents' house or whatever. So I learned like about sampling and everything backwards because I'd be at my friend's house and I'd hear a James Brown song or a Stevie Wonder song or whoever, the Isley Brothers or Temptations or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, that's where the rapper got that song from, or they didn't originate that beat, or they didn't originate that chorus, or hearing a Betty Wright sample, or Aretha Franklin, or whoever it was. Oh, that's where that is from. So that was kind of funny to me that I learned it all backwards. Like I just didn't know because that's not what my dad really listened to. Other than he had some Bob Marley. He did have some Stevie Wonder and stuff, but where he had the whole Beatles catalog or most of Bruce Springsteen or a lot of Bob Dylan. Like he'd have one or two R&B things by comparison. So I was learning more at my friend's parents' house or my friend's grandmom's house or whatever.
All right, Soren, tell us little bit more about the book, the West Coast book, the Gangster Rap, History of Gangster Rap.
Yeah. So here's the cover. I got Snoop Dogg, Ice T, and Ice Cube on there. I got them all in the book. Snoop gave me a great interview for the book. So did Ice T, and then with Cube, I used a lot of the interviews I had with him from when I talked to him multiple times over the years. And what I attempted to do with the history of gangster rap was really show why the gangster rappers rapped about what they rapped about. And people always label it as violent or misogynistic or glorifying this violence. And what I tried to do in the book, The History of Gangster Rap, was show no, this is their reaction to what's going on in Philadelphia with Schoolie D, in South Los Angeles with Ice Cube, Ice T, NWA, DJ Quick, Compton's Most Wanted, etc. And they're reacting to what's going on in society. KRS-One did the same thing with Boogie Down Productions on Criminal Minded. That's what we get with the Ghetto Boys. That's what we get Ghetto Mafia in Atlanta. You know, a lot of these groups that were doing it early in the game, Crucial Conflict in Chicago, Twister, Do or Die Snipers, they're reflecting what's going on in society. They're not creating these things. They didn't make these conditions up that they're living in, and these things are born out of the racial, social disparities that we have, the inequalities, and of course that mainly affect disproportionately black and brown people. And a lot of these injustices created these situations that the Schoolie D's, the Ice T's, the Ice Cubes either were in or they saw or both. And that's why they chose to write about these songs, because these songs are coming from places of disappointment, frustration, anger, betrayal, feeling let down by the government. It's all these different things, and that's what I talk about in the book. So what I do in the book, The History of Gangster Rap, the beginning of every chapter, I talk about what's going on in society, and then I weave that into what was happening in gangster rap at the time. So, you know, we see like with TV shows, Snowfall, for instance, shows how the government was bringing crack into South Central Los Angeles, and that affected, like I talk about in my book, The History of Gangster Rap. It's a direct correlation to this explosion that we have in gang warfare and violence, in machine guns, in murder, all these things. And that's what the Toddy T's of the world, the Mixmaster Spades, the Ice T's, the NWAs, the Easy E's, they were reflecting that. Even King T, they were reflecting these things that were going on. They didn't create these situations. They were the ones that were the voice of the voiceless at the time.
Man, that book most definitely paints some great pictures, man. It took me from like when I was younger, from like Schoolie D all the way to like Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
I know you didn't do the oh yeah, the I actually had the I got the book as well. And also I did the voice
Oh, the audio book?
I did the audio book at the same time.
Okay.
Man, it did wonders.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It was one of those audio books. I've been going back and forth to Texas here recently a few times. Man, I
Okay.
just put it on, just let it
Mm.
ride, man.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Like I said, you can get it on, uh, the digital version, the audio book, CD version, the hard copy. Wherever you get your books, you can get the History of Gangster Rap.
Yeah, it's gonna go down in history, man. I got to give it to you, man. You
Yeah,
did
thank
that.
you. Appreciate it. And then my most recent book was Gucci Man Guide to Greatness. I wrote this with Gucci, and it's basically going through a lot of the things that he lives through and does in his life that have helped him turn around. Like, each chapter we got like photos that go with it, look up, look down, then look around. Like he's talking about the things that he lives by and the things that he does, and able to how he was able to really turn his life around. He lost a lot of weight, he got married, he stopped doing drugs, he stopped doing a lot of the things that he deemed negative in his life. And the Gucci Man Guide to Greatness, we go through a lot of the principles that he lives by that enabled him to change his life. So that's something I'm very proud of too, because one of the things I try to do with my Unique Access Entertainment channel is bring an intelligent discussion of rap, as I did with the history of gangster rap, as I did with the Gucci Man Guide to Greatness, is understanding and appreciating like Gucci Man is extremely intelligent. Schoolie D, Ice T, these guys are extremely intelligent. And I think because rap at times has a negative connotation, or because they talk about money a lot, or sex a lot, or having things a lot, or what have you, we as consumers, but I think by society in general and at large, people don't really respect them for their intelligence or their savvy. So I think in both books, The History of Gangster Rap and The Gucci Man Guide to Greatness, one's obviously a historical book, another one's kind of a inspirational self-help autobiographical book. But in both of them, I really was trying to bring some spotlight on the intelligence and the insight that the people that I was talking to had. And I think, knock on wood, I achieved it on both. But that was one of the goals, to show these artists are extremely intelligent and are doing great things.
Oh wow, man! Shout out to Gucci, man. Of course, I'm in Atlanta right now. Shout out to ATL stand up, of course. But yeah, I'm also going to have to get that particular book as well, and take a look at it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
hopefully do a review on it one of these days. But
that'd be dope.
tell us what other works do you that you have in historically wise.
Well, you can just go to Amazon.com. Just search my name, Soren Baker, SorenBaker. My first book I ever did was The History of Rap and Hip Hop back in 2006, and that was a book for middle school students primarily. So it's kind of like a textbook. And with that, I focus on rap, but I also included some DJ stuff, and some b-boy stuff, and some graffiti, just to show the four primary tenets of hip hop culture. And then that one did extremely well. And then I started doing a series of books. One series is The Making of, where I talk with an artist about how they made one of their albums. And then I did another series called I'm the White Guy, because when I was getting in the game, I would I didn't think I'd ever be around these artists again, because I didn't know what was going to happen. So I'd always take pictures with them, and back at home, my friends would be like, I'd be like, oh, this is this person, this is that. They're like, oh, and you're the white dude, right? And they'd always be laughing at me. So I was like, that could be. I said, I'm gonna use that sometime. I didn't know when. So when I decided to self-publish some of these books, I used the picture I have the first time I met Jay Z, the first time I met Snoop. So I did I'm the White Guy Jay Z, I'm the White Guy Snoop Dogg, I'm the White Guy Tech Nine, and it's just me, my interactions, getting to know them, talking to them over the years, and really showing how I was able to, just being a random kid from Maryland, to be able to get in the game, and really talk to Jay Z multiple times, to be able to hang out and go to 3 or 4 Snoop's houses and get to know him, and get to talk to Snoop on a regular basis. And then same with Tech Nine, because I was just like, man, that's something that might be interesting to people, that how I was able to do it and the interactions I had with these dudes. So all those books are available all on Amazon, as are the History of Gangster Rap and the Gucci Man Guide to Greatness. So check those out. And then my YouTube channel, Unique Access Entertainment. So you could get that on YouTube. We got 45,000 subscribers, and we're steadily growing there. And very excited on where that channel's going, and just keeping it growing, man.
All right, I just want to discuss a few of the chapters in the book, if you don't mind, before we go.
Yeah, sure.
I know there's been talk about it like a million times. The East and West Coast beef. What you think about that back then?
Well, I think it was really driven by the media. I talk about this a lot in my book, The History of Gangster Rap, because in reality, Tupac said it on Hit 'Em Up. Um, he wasn't talking about everybody. He was just talking about individual people. He's from New York. Let's not forget. He had his whole One Nation project that he was doing with Nice and Smooth and Boot Camp Clip and Big Daddy Kane and others, all of whom are also from New York. So he didn't hate New York. He just hated the mentality of some of the dudes that happened to be from there. And then the West Coast artists were the same thing. On Unique Access, I talked with J. Ro from the Alcoholics. They loved the East Coast. They sampled Schoolie D on their first album, 21 and Over. They had Diamond D on the Next Level, one of their singles that he rapped on and produced. So they obviously worked with different people from different coasts. Ice Cube worked with the Bomb Squad and Chuck D and Flavor Flav on America's Most Wanted. So that love was there. And even if you go back and look at Biggie with Ready to Die, they sampled Dr. Dre and put Dr. Dre's voice on Things Done Changed. So I mean, this is not nobody hated the other coast like that, like it was portrayed in the media. Sadly, I feel, and I think evidence shows that the media used that to sell magazines, to sell subscriptions, to do all these things that didn't help not only the artists in reality, but they also didn't help the culture. They didn't help the record labels. They didn't help anything. It just led to, beef and death and these different things. Ultimately, it's the artist's responsibility because they're the ones that made the songs and did what they did. But I think the lack of accountability that the media had, I think, is pretty sad because then they would, put on the cover like, oh, when is this going to stop, or when are we going to stop losing our artists or whatever. But 2 issues ago, y'all were fanning the flames and letting these dudes talk recklessly in your magazine. So it's like I thought I thought it was largely driven by the media, man. It was really sad.
Yeah, I was kind of I mean, even though I was a young guy back then, I was very disappointed in that fact. The media and other entities basically just kept the stuff going.
Yeah, they certainly didn't slow it down, that's for sure. Because, and this is something as a journalist I've always been disappointed in with the rap media is like when that was going on, like they would interview, just to use an example, they'd interview Tupac, but they wouldn't interview Biggie. And then they'd wait till the next issue or the issue after that to interview Biggie. So they were getting one side of the story every time just to sell a magazine. And from a purely business perspective, I understand that. But again, at what cost does that come? We lose the artists, we lose people, we create beef. People are getting incarcerated, people are losing their lives, people are losing their jobs. And what, to help a magazine for a couple months? Like, you didn't need to do that. Like, you could have done an article on Tupac about how great his album was, or you could have done an article on Biggie about how great his album was, or his artistic inspiration. Like Biggie, and I talk about this in the history of gangster rap on Life After Death. Biggie has the Big interlude, which is basically him redoing PSK. What does it mean by Schoolie D? Uses the same beat, barely changes the lyrics. It's like a cover song. It's the Big interlude, and that's straight from Schoolie D. But that's seldom talked about, which is why I wanted to put it in my book, The History of Gangster Rap. But it's like there's so many amazing artistic things that don't get a lot of discussion, but we always often in the media, and we see it today with the way the social media works and the way that YouTube is working, sadly, with the people putting up their interviews and they aren't really talking about the art of it, they're talking about the beef. And that to me is like dangerous and it's not really, what does that help? I don't really think it does. And no one has a responsibility to help. I also say at the same time, it's just disappointing that so few people are addressing or appreciating or discussing in any great length or any great detail the art of it. And that's why I got into it because I thought the people like Dana Dane, the people like LL Cool J, the people like Curtis Blow and UTFO and Houdini, I just thought they were brilliant in what they were doing, and I still do. And that's why I loved the genre and still do, because I think the artists that create the great music that we love, they're great. They're phenomenal at what they do. The stories they tell, the humor they have, the insight, the reflection, the social commentary. I just think it's all when done right, it's brilliant.
Oh yeah, that's facts on that. Wow, man, you're right about that. I mean, even with social media nowadays, everything is so instant. I mean, one of the parts that kind of kills me sometimes, even though some of the old beats are over, some people still clip that and bring it back up again and try to find another angle to it. Then they try to, you know, start the beef back up again on certain things.
Yeah, I mean it happens all the time, and I think it's unfortunate. So what I do with Unique Access and what I entertainment on YouTube and what I do with my books and the other things that I do, like when I interviewed MC8 one time, I asked him what he learned from the DJ Quick beef. I didn't ask him all about like, ooh, what was it like when you were dissing Quick? I said, what did you learn from that beef? help shape you, or how did that affect you in positive or negative ways? Like, how did you use what you learned from that to further your career? So, you know, if you get a chance, you should watch that on YouTube, because, the fact that MC8 and Compton's Most Wanted had beef with DJ Quick, I mean, that's cool. I enjoyed the records, and I thought a lot of them were great, and I thought they were funny, and clearly some of the best disses in rap history. But at the same time, thankfully, neither one of them got killed. Nobody in the camp or crew got killed because of that. It was, just something that was great rap records. And I wish that that's what we had with a lot of these disses. Like, that was one of the great things about a lot of the people LL dissed. Like, it just stayed on record. A lot of people, West Side Connection was dissing, or Ice Cube, like, they left some of the other greatest disses ever, but that was what it was. And that, to me, if it has a great record, like, that's great. But I didn't want to get. I just wish that the stuff didn't go from the music to the streets.
Mm. Wow. All right. One more thing about the book as well about the West Coast.
Mhm.
Tell us. I know you. I know you know most of these guys personally and everything. That was a chapter of the book I liked the most when you cover the West Coast. The way I guess the music so sonically, whatever, if you want to call it that,
Mhm.
their style is way different than everybody else's.
Absolutely. Well, maybe because I talk about that a lot in the history of gangster rap, so I don't know specifically what you're referring to, but one of the things that, of course, the West Coast did, that it early on, the funk had been used in similar ways by EPMD, for instance, and many others before the West Coast like really blew up and became the dominant sound of rap. But the way the West Coast was using it, like uh, all these funks things, Dr. Dre, when he was using them in NWA and the DOC and different things, they were all fast. But with Above the Law, with Dr. Dre and Warren G, in that order, Above the Law, Dr. Dre, and then Warren G, they really, on Above the Law and the Vocally Pimpin' EP, they slowed it down. So they used those funk beats, but in a slower way. And so that really changed the culture. So by the time when you get with the Chronic and then Doggy Style, like Nothing But a G Thing or Gin and Juice, these big records, they're slower, but they're still talking about, they're still using profanity, they're still talking crazy about sex and life in the streets and gangbanging and all this stuff, but it's not done sonically where it's so harsh like NWA was, or so fast and wild like Public Enemy was, like the Bomb Squad. It was more like, it felt good sonically to where they could have been talking about gardening or looking at the flowers or trees or something, but no, they were talking about street stuff. It was just the music had changed so dramatically. And Above the Law did that with Vocally Pimpin' and Black Mafia Life. Then Dr. Dre made it mainstream with the Chronic and then Doggy Style sonically, and then with Warren G would regulate. Those were, to me, the pivotal moves in it, and showed like, you can go street with it, Above the Law, you can go commercial with it like Dr. Dre did, and by the time you get to Warren G, with Regulate the G Funk era, then you're getting into like super commercial, crossover radio, crossover video, and this stuff, because it sounds good. It's very different. It
Mm.
doesn't sound it doesn't sound angry. It doesn't sound aggressive. Not not that they were really gangster. Not that they were gangster rappers, even though they had gangster lyrics. Look at Goody Mob. When you look at the Soul Food album, like, that stuff is aggressive, it's hard, it's minimalistic, it's skeletal sonically. But then when you look at the song Soul Food, look at the chorus, and then look at the rest of the song and the verses. Like, they're singing, it's like a gospel choir on the song Soul Food in the chorus, and that's why that song can elevate in a different way, because it sounds comforting and sounds something that sounds good, even though, lyrically, what they're spinning on there in the verses is crazy. They're talking about the OJ trial, they're talking about racism, they're talking about the terrible food and fast food. So it's like all these things. But again, it's how does the music sound? How does it feel first? And then you can get into what the artists are talking about. And that's what the West Coast did that was so significant. They made Like even today was a good day by Ice Cube's another prime example. That song just sounds good. It sounds smooth. It sounds relaxed. You know, he didn't even have to use his AK. You know, these are all the type of things that lyrically it was similar or the same type of thing. It was just sonically, musically, aesthetically, it was way different. And that's what the West Coast really did that changed rap.
Oh yeah, shout out to Above the Law. It's one of my groups back in the day. You guys, y'all did that as well. And Warren G, you said was super commercial, basically, but he was so smooth with it, man. That's what I like about Warren G.
Yeah, it's that Long Beach thing, man. Long Beach.
So, Son, what's your final thoughts at this time before we go?
Well, first of all, I just want to shout out the Writers Book Club. Thank y'all for having me. Everybody, you know, I really appreciate your help in getting me, you know, this far because I have a career based on my love of rap and being able to, you know, connect and communicate about it on a daily basis. Just want to, you know, if you haven't got it already, get my book, The History of Gangsta Rap, in stores worldwide. Get my book I did with Gucci Man, The Gucci Man Guide to Greatness. And then support me on Unique Access Entertainment on YouTube, Unique Access ENT on YouTube. And then just follow me at Soren Baker, SorenBaker, on all social media. And then just want to, again, shout out to Writers Book Club for having me. And yeah, man, I'm very fortunate. And yeah, just thankful.
Oh yeah, and by the way, this is Mr. O's. Oh yeah, Soren. After this, we're gonna chop it up for a couple minutes, then we'll get out of here once I end the live. But by the way, guys, don't forget this, Mr. Old School Rider. You see my social medias at the bottom. Instagram, the Riders Book Club, same thing as YouTube. Also, Twitter is Riders Book Club. And also, don't forget to vote the Riders Book Club for the 23 Steel Awards, of course. The link ain't gonna be on their website. Other than that, we're over and we out. Yeah, I know I gotta represent my boy with the Washington Bullets
Yes,
throwback.
yes. That was my team growing up. I love the Bullets. Quick story, I love the Bullets and the Celtics. My dad, we went to a Bullets game one time. The only time I really went as a kid. And you remember back in the day they had those pennants. And
Oh
so
yeah.
so I wanted the Bullets one. My dad was like, "Well, we don't really do this type of thing, so get another one." So I just looked at all the logos, and for whatever reason, the Celtics logo was the one I liked the most. So I
Hmm.
got that. So that's what I liked. I've always liked the Celtics and the Bullets. Now that they're the Wizards, I can't really get with them as much, but it's always been the Celtics and the Bullets for me, man.
Yeah, my first and only Jordan jersey ever in life was a Washington Wizard jersey, but it was the throwback Washington Bullets with Jordan on the back.
There you
It's
go.
somewhere in the archives, but that's a fun fact. That's my first and only Jordan jersey in history. I basically had the Pippins and the Dennis Rodman basically
All right.
all this time.
Well, there it is.
Hang on one second. All right, Soren, we're gonna end this real quick. Let's chop it up. All right, you guys hold it down. Peace out. Hold on, Soren.